Alrighty, guys, it is 3:30 this Tuesday, September 16th, and time to wrap it up for today. And so far, I had to say, it looks like holding the range is holding. The reverse retest at the main definitely looked like it worked. It's not a pretty setup, but it worked. So far, a small trade in there, back to the mean, but you can see here the first run up here did not look very pretty at all, and then. They took it up above the mean and then stalled and then sideways. So here you have your better retest failure setup. The below the mean here wasn't quite just there yet. And now they pulled back a little bit. So if you're telling me we're in on that one, 74, then it's like a 4 or 5 point trade. So not a big trade by any means. And the big question right now is, are they going to hold support at 66.60? If that comes out, we'll start range bound. If not, we'll start on the long side of this and see how far they can take it. So that's kind of the starting point here. So 66, 65, or 60 to 65. If that holds, we may stay. I'll stay range bound. We'll bias to the upside. If it comes out, I'll just be back range bound. Maybe even looking for early weakness. Now we have news for tomorrow. We got some stuff going on in the morning. We got housing starts and permits at 8:30. We had Atlanta Fed business inflation expectations at 10 and oil report at 10:30. And of course, we get the Fed announcement, 2 o'clock. Fed announcement and then a press conference. So that's going to be the interesting part. I think it's a foregone conclusion that's going to be a quarter point cut. And then the question becomes the press conference. That's where the the market is going to react. It is going to be a negative reaction, or it's going to be like a positive one. But it could certainly be a big deal there. Hang on, what the hell is that? Hang on. Oh, fuck, I don't know what that was. That was weird. Anyway, so uh where was it? Okay, so starting off, so the Fed announcement on tomorrow, and then we'll see how the market reacts. If it's going to throw cold water on it, or if we're going to have a nice reaction, we'll find out in tomorrow in the afternoon. So I think that's where we have it. Looking at our the bonds and the Nasdaq, I only took one trade today. That was earlier on the Nasdaq. I was that low, the retest here at the low end of the range. Took one long trade, didn't work out. Since then, they actually drifted a little bit lower. Did not kind of sell off by any means, but they drifted lower and then slowly started grinding back up again. And this is like one of those things, as I said, very difficult to trade because it's hard to say if they actually shifted direction or if they are drifting. And you can see they took it up to the mode, backed off a little bit to the mean, and now they're finally getting a little bit of a move down. So reverse retest against the mean worked great on this one. If you were in here, the setup is not super pretty. You kind of had to wait for this whole thing to start shaking out. But it's not by any means. And if you get in here, you had to fade some heat that would have worked as well. But definitely a failure to take out the volume weighted mean. There you can see it, they're a little bit above the mean as well, halfway up to that resistance area. So not an obvious setup, but it's back at the mean, failure to take it out, and looking for a little bit of weakness after that. The question is here is, are they going to be able to take out the lows? At this point, the 480s is going to be the one I'm looking at. If that comes out, we're back range bound. If not, I'm going to be staying on the long side if they can hold above that. Or range bound primarily, but the bias to the upside, I should say. Bond market is pretty much range bound. That's not much to say about it. So range bound trading going into tomorrow. We'll see uh, how that shakes out when we get the Fed announcement. But at this point, that's where we are. So one trade on the Nasdaq for $7. That's all I took today. And then finally, oil and gold. Gold is just range bound. They backed off the highs, but not below that 37.14. So stay on the long side on gold. If they take out the lows here, the 14 in the overnight, I would probably look for a short retracement trade. But if they hold it, just staying on the long side on gold. Looks to me like the 3,800 is coming up. And then oil, that's the drifting higher, but not by any means in a big way. So I would stay on the long side just to get started to see if they can try to take this higher. But they're running into these upper edges on oil. And if you look at capital flow, they're looking for shorts up here against that 64.70 to 65 would probably be a good setup for to look for. But it's been pretty sloppy. So I haven't traded gold and so I haven't traded oil and gold. I'm just very cautious about this. There's not much to do about gold. It's too volatile. And when nothing happens on gold, it's just twisting in the wind. But then when it does happen, you have to be really on top of your game. So it is a tricky market to trade for sure. So back to the ES and all right, so a little bit of weakness. They ran it down right down here to the initial balance low, bounce a little bit. So let's see how this whole thing shakes out. We've got another 20 more minutes to go, but I will see how this one comes together into the close. So um, I'll see you guys back bright and early in the morning and see how this Fed announcement is going to shake out. So I'll see you in the morning. Have a good evening. Later.